Hello, welcome to this All Levels Flow video that I created for Centered City Yoga for the people who normally attend classes there and would like to practice at home during this time of kind of quarantine that we're going through. My name is Dominique Watts, and just a little something to think about as you practice today. I would invite you to consider the idea of being a beginner and how there's a certain level of vulnerability required in that. I think this is a time in the world and in our country, but all over the world, that we are facing a lot of things we are not familiar with and we're not sure how to handle. And I think it's good to even just acknowledge that it's okay to allow our brains to not try to solve this problem, because we don't really have a solution at this point, to be okay with sitting in uncertainty and using that yoga practice as a place to find some groundedness. So I invite you to do that today, to consider this idea of sitting in uncertainty and allowing yourself to be okay with not knowing all the answers and not being perfect, trying to be perfect and do everything just so, or being in the same routine we were in. We need to adjust to something a little different. So consider this idea of being a beginner, being vulnerable, being open, and let's see what happens in this practice. So you're in a comfortable seat, whatever that is to you, sitting upright. And you're taking your Ujjayi breath in and out through your nose. You try to make your exhale just a tad longer than your inhale. And doing that just creates a little bit more calm in our bodies. It's a little more grounding. You might imagine that your spine is where you're breathing from. Can you bring your hands behind you now? Fingertips on the floor, drawing your shoulder blades together. As you're ready, you're going to exhale, round your spine, look toward your navel. You're going to inhale to open back up again, lifting your gaze. And exhaling to round. So a seated cat-cow pose. Continue this a few more rounds. You're welcome to continue this same movement. Also the option to move on to this bigger movement of bringing your hands behind you, drawing your shoulder blades together so we turn it into a bigger back bend, then bowing forward over your legs, turning this into maybe more of a hip opener. Yeah, and continue that, inhaling to bring the fingertips to the floor behind you, drawing your shoulder blades together, and exhaling to bow forward over your thighs, however far. Continue that pattern now. Take a side bend, reaching over toward your left, reaching your right arm up over your ear. And then go up to the other side, inhaling, exhaling, reaching over to the other side. Come back up, inhale. Exhale to the other side. So you're really rooting down through the opposite hip to create groundedness in this pose. Reach up on your inhale, like you're going to touch the ceiling, and then reach to the other side on the exhale. And we'll do it one more time. Just kidding, we're going to twist. So you're going to turn toward the left. As you inhale, reach back up. And exhale, twist toward the right. One hand behind you, one hand on your knee perhaps. Let's do that again. Nice long inhale, taking your time. And exhaling all the way over to the left. Coming back up again. Twisting right. Keep going, reaching up overhead. Twisting one more time to your left. And to your right. As you're ready, come onto your hands and knees now. Take a moment to line up your knees under your hips and to spread the palms, and then take a cow pose here, more traditional cow pose. And then make your way to downward facing dog. As you inhale, let your knees softly come down. Take another cow pose. And then as you exhale, sit back in child's pose. On your next inhale, you might kind of creep low and then up to cow pose, making a little bit bigger back bend. And then as you exhale, contract the belly, pull your inner thighs back in a downward facing dog. Inhale, the knees hit the floor. We start to lift into cow pose again, find some nice length there. And then exhale, sit back in a child's pose, moving that stretch more into your low back. Creep forward again on your inhale, cow pose. Just flowing with your breath here. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, we let the knees come down. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, sit back, child's pose. Come forward. Thread the needle by reaching your left arm underneath you to the right. Bring your left shoulder to the floor. I personally like to push my fingertips into the floor and have my right elbow bent about 90 degrees, kind of hugging my right shoulder onto my back. You can try that, but there are many variations of this pose, and I'm sure a lot of you have done them, so if there's something else you would rather do, go for it. From here, we start to unravel, and we take the other side, this time taking that right arm underneath our body. Bring the right shoulder to the floor, pushing into the floor with the left hand. And notice here the sensations you're feeling along your back of your shoulder, back of your neck. Nice twist happening as well. Maybe you start to even look up a little more toward the ceiling as you deepen the twist. Move with your breath. Let the exhale be the place you twist into. Okay, come back to your hands and knees. Curl your toes under. We're going to start to sit back toward our heels. And actually, for this stretch, I think we're probably going to point our feet. This stretch is a really good one to release the low back. You're going to come way forward, enough that you feel your core engage. So we're kind of like a tabletop, but going forward. Then exhale, start to sit back toward your heels, maybe pointing the feet to give yourself a little more space. Inhale, keeping the back relatively flat. You're coming forward toward a plank position on your knees, getting some warmth in the core. Then dragging your hips back. Exhale, start to tuck your tailbone under. This is a great low back release. Let's do that again. Shoulders come forward to the fingertips even. And as you exhale, drag it back, start sitting toward your heels. Now we take it up to a lunge. We step our right foot forward between our hands and we start to bring the hips forward of the knee. You might reach up here into a low lunge with the arms extended up. Really open up the hip flexors on your left side. Bring your hands to the floor, start to straighten the right leg. I like to flex the right foot and keep the left knee bent. That personally works for me. Reach up again. Inhale. Open up your chest. As you exhale, you're going to flex your right foot, lifting the left knee but keeping the knee bent. You're dragging your right leg straight, so a hamstring stretch. Inhale into the lunge. Open up the front of your body. And then exhale. Start to straighten your left leg, nose toward your knee. Now from here, we're going to turn it into a nice twist. So you're pushing your right hand into your right thigh. And on the exhale, turn your belly button toward your thigh. Maybe even turn your left cheek toward that wall over there on your right. On your next inhale, you might start to float the right arm up toward the ceiling. Maybe your arm starts to draw behind you. Maybe you're going to start to look up more. Okay, bring your hand to the floor inside your right leg. You're going to hug your right calf area, right inner leg against your right arm. And I decided to change position to show this more clearly, but same thing we were just doing if that threw you off. So you're hugging your arm and leg into each other. When you do that, you should feel a little bit of a broadening in your hip. Some people are going to feel it a lot more than others, but For some people, it's going to be more subtle. The really nice little SI joint releaser. I'm moving around a little bit now. Maybe you would like to do the same. You're starting to move side to side, or little circles in this hip opener. You're going to kick the right leg straight back behind you now and reach the left arm forward for bird dog pose. Find some nice contraction there, and then we're going to kick out to the side. Now I ran into the wall, but if you can kick your leg straight all the way out to the right, great. Inhaling to pull the limbs apart, exhaling to kick your right leg over to the right, facing the right wall, and then the left arm over to the left. One more. From here, we pause, we bring it all back down. We're actually going to cross the right knee behind the left knee, like we're sitting cross-legged. We're going to let our feet come apart, away from each other a little bit, and start sitting back. This is a great hip stretch, kind of the outer hip this time. You might find that you want to sit down less to protect their knees. That's fine. Walk your hands over to the left to deepen this stretch as well, if you're feeling like that would augment it for you. Okay, we're coming back to center. We're uncrossing our legs. We're going to do all of that on the other side. First, we're coming back to downward facing dog. You can take a vinyasa here if you'd like. Maybe you're pedaling your legs out to stretch your calves, stretch your heels. From here, come back to your knees. This time, step your left foot forward between your hands. Rise up to a lunge, a crescent lunge. Hug your knees, your inner thighs toward each other, reach up. Feel a stretch to the front of your right leg. Then we start to pick up the right knee, bending the knee and straightening the left leg. I like to flex. Maybe you try flexing your toes toward your face. Inhale, take that high lunge again, or low crescent lunge. And then exhale, start to pick up the right knee, start straightening the left leg. And do it again. Find your own rhythm, your own pacing here. Notice that with each one of these repetitions, these pulsations, that we get a little deeper. Okay, now we take our left foot maybe a couple inches to the left and bring our left arm to the inside of our leg. We squeeze the arm and the leg into each other. Oh, I forgot the twist. So we're going to bring our left hand onto our left thigh. Start turning your belly button toward the left. On your next inhale, you can start reaching up toward the ceiling. Notice the tendency here to let the hips shoot out to the left, but think about pulling the hips back toward the short edge, the back edge of your mat. Bring your hand to the floor inside your leg. And this time we are squeezing the left arm and left leg into each other. Finding that nice stretch through the sacroiliac joint, the area beneath the low back. Kind of pigeon-y too. You're getting some nice stretch in the piriformis. Maybe you want to move around a little bit in this stretch. You're welcome to. All right, and then from there we kick the left leg straight back, bring the right arm straight ahead, getting ready for bird dog pose. Pull your navel up toward the ceiling, hug your inner thighs toward each other. As you exhale, kick your left leg way out to the left, right arm way out to the right. So extend and find that kind of unstable position to build the core stabilizers. Re-extend on the inhale, and then as you exhale, pull out to opposite corners or opposite sides of the room. And then extend on the inhale again, and exhale back out to the sides. Inhale, extend one more time, and then as you exhale, let your right hand come down. Let your left knee cross behind your right knee like you're sitting cross-legged in a chair, and let your feet come apart some so that you can start to sit back between your feet, however far is appropriate for you. Starting to get a nice stretch in your hip. Walk your hands over to the right if you'd like to add more. Now let your breath take you deeper. Every exhale, the belly pulls toward the spine a little bit, right? We let our belly pull toward our spine. We melt a little bit more over our legs. We're really letting the breath help us deepen the stretch. We don't have to force anything. Okay, come back to center, uncross your legs, curl your toes under. Screaming toe pose. Woohoo! Name says it all. So you're flexing your feet, sitting back on your heels. Now you might find that you want to keep your hands on the floor if this is too much sensation, but if your hands are off the floor, you might take a stretch with me, bringing your right arm down behind your back. And then, okay, left arm behind your back. Right arm reaches up between your shoulder blades. I'm showing a few different variations of this shoulder stretch. You're welcome to pick any that works for you. Remember, try not to allow too much opening in the ribs. You kind of want to pull those little ribs in and let the chin stay neutral rather than having it jut out. Okay, we're going to do the other side. So this time, whichever side you haven't done yet, probably the right side. The right hand comes down your back. You can always come off your heels for a moment if you need to take a break. Feeling a lot of discomfort in the toes here is very normal, hence the name Screaming Toe Pose. So if you are feeling a lot, no worries. It's a good stretch for our feet, but it doesn't mean it feels great all the time. Let's uncross. Let's come back to our hands and knees. We're going to point our feet, and we're going to lift the knees a little bit. Pull the navel up toward the ceiling. This is core, but it's also a nice foot stretch, right? So you're exhaling to really round and carve out the belly toward the spine, pushing the floor away actively with the feet and the hands. And then we come back down. Okay, so here now, we're going to step the right foot forward between our hands. And then we're going to step the left foot a little bit more forward, reaching up into Warrior One. So a little bit shorter stance for Warrior One. Nice deep bend in the right knee, left leg is straight. We're going to reach way, way forward, and then turn toward the left, bending the left knee, coming into Skandasana, a nice side lunge. We're going to pivot all 10 toes to face the front. Reach back up again, take a nice big inhale, heart lifts. And then as you exhale, reach forward and then turn. Make sure you're pivoting those feet a lot for this to protect your knees, letting the knee and the ankle face the same way. Turn again toward the front, take a nice big inhale, reach up. And as you exhale, reach forward and then back, coming into Skandasana, bending the left knee. Again, one more time, we face the front, we come to that low lunge. Plant our hands. And we take it back to a side plank. So our right foot stacks on top of our left. So we're on the pinky toe side of our left foot and our left palm. Push the floor away actively with your hand. Try to create a strong line of energy from your wrist to your shoulder, and maybe even out the fingertips of the top hand. Or your top hand might be reaching more toward over your ear in that position. Okay, we're going to come back to plank. Again, you can take a vinyasa here, or you can go right with me to downward facing dog. I chose something a little less intense there, but you're welcome to add on what you'd like to this. Step your left foot forward between your hands. And again, we come up to Warrior One. You might end up stepping your right foot a slight bit more forward. The toes are turned out about 45 degrees, 60 degrees. Reach up, traction your spine there. And then we bend the right knee. We turn all 10 toes toward the right as we open up into Skandasana. Pivot all 10 toes forward, reach up, inhale. Exhale, we bend the right knee again. We turn all 10 toes to the right. Maybe the hands are on the floor, maybe they're floating. Again, turn all 10 toes toward the front. Reach up. As you exhale, take a nice deep bend. Maybe you feel like you're kind of surfing or snowboarding there, right? So let's turn all 10 toes to face the front. And once again, we roll onto the pinky toe side, this time of the right foot, and we're on our right hand. Push the floor away, try to get that your left shoulder, no, right shoulder. Right shoulder strong. You can reach the top arm over your ear if you like. Try to arch your hips away from the floor. Active feet. Breathing steady. Come back to plank pose. And then again, you can take a vinyasa. You can go to downward facing dog. Okay, we're going to move on now. We're coming into plank and down dog. So on the exhale, you're in down dog. The inhale, you're in plank. So inhaling to plank pose, and here really pulling up and back with the belly and the inner thighs. to down dog rather than swinging. So we want to take out that momentum. Now we come into upward facing dog, drawing nice big stretch through the front of the body, and then contract, contract to plank, and then to downward facing dog, turning it into a fluid movement. So inhaling, flipping the feet over, coming into upward facing dog, pushing the floor away. Exhaling, contract, contract as you pull back to downward facing dog. Try that one more time. And here we have kind of a funny transition where my daughter comes in to visit me for a second, but just start making your way up to standing. Let's pick up the left leg, cross it over the top of your right knee, just above the knee. Keep the left foot flexed. Start sitting down in your one-legged chair or your standing pigeon pose. You might press the palms together at your heart. That can be a great place to kind of remind your core to engage, hold everything to midline, or you might open up your arms like goalposts and draw your shoulder blades together on your back to create a little more of an upright position, a heart opener. As you're ready, slide your left knee over your right knee like you're sitting cross-legged in a chair, but now your legs are straighter. You're going to bow forward over your thighs, letting your ribs touch your thighs. As you inhale, you're allowing nice spaciousness in the back body. And as you exhale, contract the belly toward the spine, letting your whole torso drape over your thighs. And then we're going to pick up the left knee again and return it back next to the right foot. So we're doing this on the other side now. Pick up your right foot, cross your right ankle over your left thigh, just above the knee. Keep the right foot flexed. Press your palms together at your heart if you like. Try to keep pulling your standing leg shin back, your left shin back. You might take goalpost arms like we did on the other side. If you'd like to do that again, do that now. Be okay with a little bit of movement, a little bit of teetering. If we were having that beginner mindset, we would expect that and be okay with it. So let's allow ourselves to be imperfect. Let's allow ourselves to just adapt. Okay, so cross your right foot over your left, crossing at the knee, and then bow forward again. It's okay to bend those knees as much as you need to make this pose work for you. You want to feel sensation within reason. If you find you're holding your breath, might be a little too much sensation. You're allowing heaviness through your head and through your spine, long spine. Allowing the breath to puff up your back body on the inhale and contract your front body toward your spine on the exhale. And then we'll stand it back up and uncross our legs again. We're going to step to the front of the mat and get ready to come into downward facing dog now. Step back to downward facing dog, spread your palms. Notice how this one feels different than the first one, maybe a little more open. We're coming into pigeon from here, so we're going to take our right knee forward toward our right wrist. Let your left leg slide back. You might be sitting on a block or a phone book if you don't have any blocks at home to elevate your right hip. We're going to roll down toward the floor, chucking the chin to the chest on the way up. So inhaling to come up, opening up through your throat. Exhaling to bow forward, tucking the chin toward your chest. So we just find some nice movement here to help us ease into our half pigeon pose. We're in no hurry to move into this, so if you want to do that movement more, you're welcome to. If you want to do an upright pigeon, you're welcome to, or you might fold all the way forward. If you have any props that you want to use under your forehead, or again under that right hip, you're welcome to. If you find this pose bothers your right knee, please roll over and do this pose on your back. You can roll onto your back and do the figure 4 position we were just doing standing, crossing your right ankle over the top of your left knee, just on the thigh above the left knee. Allow your breath to fill up your back body on the inhale. And with every exhale, you might think about isometrically drawing your right hip back and your left hip forward. You might pay attention to what's happening with the right foot that's tucked underneath you. Is it pointed? Is it flexed? Find some energy in that foot and see how it changes the stretch. Allow everything to soften that feels like it's starting to get tense. This is not an easy pose for a lot of us, but can you breathe into whatever sensation you're feeling? Kind of support it with your breath. We're going to start to push ourselves up onto our palms again. And then flexing your left foot, lift your left knee up and then swing the right leg back and up into three-legged dog. And you are welcome to hang out here or to do any other movement to stretch it out. As you're ready, come to the other side. Bring your left knee toward your left wrist. Squeegee, kind of slide the right leg back. Allow yourself to sit up nice and tall, turn it into a back bend. On your inhale, on the exhale, roll down, tuck your chin toward your chest. And then roll back up on the inhale, turning it into a back bend. Exhaling, melting toward the floor. One more time. So you're starting to stretch your arms out in front of you. You might start to notice what's happening with the left foot, the foot underneath your body. Can you make a deliberate decision on pointing it or flexing it to create some stability in the ankle and maybe a little more sensation in the hip, the left hip? Allow your breath to take over, filling you up on the inhale, creating more spaciousness through your whole torso, especially the back of your torso, and exhaling to empty out, contracting your navel towards your spine at the bottom of the exhale. So just let the breath take you deeper into this. We don't have to make ourselves go to any certain place in this pose. The breath will help us ease in. We'll start to make our way back out. Back to three-legged dog, kicking the left leg back behind us. So really any transitional pose here that you want to do is fine. From there we'll come into an upward facing dog, so point your feet. Keep a slight bend in your elbows as you lift your heart up. It's a great hip flexor release after pigeon. Then we're going to drop the knees and come into a cat pose. Chin toward the chest. And now from here, I'm turning to face the camera, but you can stay where you're at, but kick the left leg out to the side. So you're on your right knee, your left leg kicking out to the side. We're going to walk our hands forward some here. And then we're going to start to sit back. You can turn your right heel in a little, like a half child's pose is kind of what this is, as far as the right knee going out slightly and the toes turning in slightly. But we're really anchoring down through the left foot, especially the pinky toe side. And if you can have the foot pointing straight ahead, great. If it needs to turn out, that's okay. You decide your level of depth here, but this is meant to really open up the groin. And it's a nice little back and butt stretch. Then start to shift your hips forward. Now really hug your inner thighs toward each other here to protect your back as you open up into this kind of this open leg back bend. Draw your shoulder blades down your back. It's like a funky up dog. Okay, and then we're going to bring it back to the first position on our knee with our leg extended. Take a little cat pose, round your back. Bring it back to your hands and knees, and this time we're kicking the right leg out to the side and doing that on the other side. So this time again, try to point your foot forward as much as you can. Try to flatten your foot on the floor, pushing down through the pinky toe side of your foot. Turn the left knee out a little bit and the left toes in a little bit, like child's pose on the left side, and start sitting back. And if your knees don't like this much flexion, you can keep those hips a lot higher if this much flexion doesn't work for you. Big groin stretch. You decide how far down to sit into it. You decide how far out your leg's going to stretch out to the side. Upper body's relaxed. And then from here we come back up onto our knees, so we lift the hips up, adjust the right leg as needed. Something I forgot to mention on the other side, really flex that left foot as well. It's going to give you power and stability here. Hug your inner thighs toward each other as the hips come forward and down. Big opening for the front of your body, hip flexors and chest. Drawing your shoulders down, lifting your gaze. Kind of a funky version of up dog, if you could even call it that. Kind of similar, but definitely not the same. Take a cat pose now, so walk the hands in and arch your back. Tuck your chin toward your chest. Then bring your knees back underneath you and come to a seated position. And make sure there's room behind you to roll onto your back on your mat, keeping your head on the mat. Take your feet to the edges of the mat so they're pretty wide and knock your knees together. You might be pushing down through the pinky toe sides of both feet now to bring the knees more toward each other. Then you're going to take your knees, drop them over to the left, over to the right. So windshield wiping your legs side to side. Nice little twist. Just going at your own pace side to side. Next time your legs drop to the right, pick up your right foot and cross it over the top of your left leg just above the knee. It's going to be on your outer left leg. Your arms might be stretching out to the side a little bit and start to peek over toward your left arm. And start to soften, start to let your breath congeal a little bit. Let's do the other side. So your knees come up and they just drop over this time to your left side. Pick up your left foot, put it on the outside of your right leg, just above the knee. You might start looking over toward the right side of the room now. So stretch your neck a little bit. Can you breathe into your right ribs, your right side waist, all the way down to your right knee? And really expand the right side on the inhale. Okay, uncross your legs, come back to center. We're going to bring our arms down by our sides, reaching toward our feet. So our feet are flat on the floor underneath our knees, so that we can start to lift up into bridge pose. Can you push down hard through all four corners of your feet to lift the hips up off the floor? Also pushing down through the backs of your arms and your hands, your wrists, your forearms. So we really want to support our back in this pose. We're going to feel it in the legs, we're going to feel it in the arms, shoulders, so that our back does not feel everything. Can you watch your belly rise and fall here as you breathe? Chin is slightly tucked toward the chest, chest is rising toward the chin. Soft jaw, soft eyes. And start to make your way back down all the way to the floor. And bring our legs up the wall now. So any wall space you have available to you, can you shift over there? You might bring your mat with you for this and do a couple things here. It's such a nice, gentle way to get some blood into our heads, to create that relaxation response, trigger that relaxation response that we probably are all kind of craving right now more than ever. Please make sure you're in a position that's comfortable. If you have tighter hamstrings, it's okay to have those knees bent and your butt farther away from the wall to make it more comfortable. Your arms might be stretched out to the side, but they can be in any position that feels comfortable to you. And you might notice here gravity softening your skin on your face and kind of feel like your skin is stretching back toward the back of your head, forehead drawing back toward your hairline. You might even feel the eyes sinking back into the sockets. This is really subtle stuff, so if you don't notice it, it's fine. But as you relax and soften the muscles of your face, you might feel it a little bit more. You're starting to settle down and prepare for relaxation now. Now you might start to move around a little, pointing and flexing your feet, wiggling your toes. And let your feet slide down the wall so your knees are going to come toward your chest. Push your soles of your feet into the wall for a moment. Then from there, straighten your legs and let them start dropping over to the right. So you're coming into a twist. You can definitely prop your legs onto a block or a pillow or anything you have at home just to give yourself a little lift. If your legs don't easily come to the floor here, definitely put something under your outer right shin to make it more comfortable. It's a great deep twist as long as it's done within your range of motion. You start stretching out toward the left with your left arm, looking toward your left fingertips here. You might also put your hand, your right hand, on the outside of your left leg, on the outside of the hip, to deepen the stretch. It's another great place to breathe deep into the side body. Let's take it to the other side so your legs slide up the wall and over to the left this time. Same thing. Feel free to put a prop under your legs if that feels better. Take a peek over your right shoulder toward your right fingertips. Allow your breath to fill up your right side body. Start to slide your legs back up the wall again. And you can make your way onto your back for a more traditional Shavasana, or if you're digging the legs up the wall and you want to stay in that position for Shavasana, you're welcome to. So choose whichever's the most comfortable, or any other resting position, maybe on your side or sitting in meditation. Allow your weight of your body to draw back into the back side of your body, so feeling a heaviness through the back of your head, the weight settling into the back of your arms, back of your torso and your buttocks, and heaviness through your calves and your heels. Just allowing all of your back body to settle heavy into the floor and feel supported by the earth beneath you. And what you might notice as you're laying here in stillness is that the top side of the body might start feeling more light, almost empty, hollow. So face, tops of the arms, chest and belly, tops of the legs and feet might have a bit of a light and empty feeling to them. Enjoy your Shavasana. Bring your attention back to your breath, back to the room that you're in. Start to bring your legs in, stretching and rolling over to either side, using your bottom arm as a headrest for your head. Thank yourself for being here, for showing up for your practice. And then come on up to a seat. I have a quote to share with you today. It says, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few." It's a quote from Shunryu Suzuki. Thank you for being a beginner with me in this video yoga process. Bring your palms together at your heart, and we bow to each other. Namaste.